Young and Hungry, Leudic's new production series about young hustlers who are pursuing unique endeavors and businesses. For those of you who don't know, we are Leudic. Leudic is a company that specializes in cute, comfortable, and super cozy clothing for modern wearers. We are Leudic's co-founders, Rai and Kara, and today we are your Young and Hungry co-hosts.
Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Today on Young and Hungry, our first guest is actually going to be Miss Lexi Jones. We are so excited to have her here. Lexi attends the University of Southern California with me, and she has a thrift business called Tiny Shrub Thrifts. This thrift business curates thrifting finds and then she sells them. She's been doing this business for actually a little bit over a year, so she has some great experience in the industry. And her Instagram, which is her main platform that she sells on, has almost 22,000 followers. So we know that she has some great insight about thrifting businesses, and we're really excited to hear from her today.
So before we get started with Lexi, since this is our first episode, we wanted all of our viewers and listeners to really know what this podcast and interview series is about. So we made this series to provide a platform to support and encourage young entrepreneurs and professionals. When starting a new business or a new adventure or a new career so young, you often don't get taken seriously, and there's so many other obstacles that come along with just being young and in the industry. So in this series, we're just going to be talking about that and so much more with all of our amazing young and hungry hustlers. So with that being said, let's bring in Lexi.
All right, well, welcome, Lexi. Thank you so much for being on Young and Hungry. We are literally so excited that you're here today. This is our first episode of Young and Hungry, so you're our first guest, and we're really honored to be starting with you today. So,
thank you for asking me.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. So I guess we just want to start off and just say, tell us about yourself and tell us about Tiny Shrub Thrifts.
Well, my name is Lexi, obviously, and I am 19 years old. I go to USC, University of Southern California, the real one. Just kidding. Don't want to offend anyone already on the first episode. But Tiny Shrub Thrifts is my small business that I've been running for the past year. I essentially thrift clothes and then I resell them on Instagram. And yeah.
Cool. Why did you start this business and why did you choose to thrift? Because, definitely there's a lot of opportunity if you want to start a business. So why did you choose what you chose?
So I initially started it because I actually got the idea from my friend Valeria, who was doing the same thing. She was posting on her Instagram and she was like, hey, like I had a thrift account. And like people should go check it out. And I actually had some clothes I wanted to get rid of. So I was like, oh, Valeria, like, could you sell this for me? This would be great. And what really, I saw that my clothes, which I myself, I either thrifted them or whatever, were selling for so much. And I was like, oh shoot, like I kind of want to do this,
I want to do
it. And I was like, because I love shopping.
Yeah.
I have a horrible shopping addiction. So I'm like, if I can shop without feeling...
It's totally okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
You do though, I know it.
Addiction.
Literally, it's so bad. I've been shopping today as well, and I'm like, this is just unhealthy. But with the thrift account, I was like, I can shop and not feel bad because I can sell it and make money off it. So it's kind of like a job.
So coping mechanism for your shopping.
Yes, exactly. So I talked to her because I was like, I don't want to copy her. Like, I feel like I don't want to just jump in. But Valeria, she's so sweet. She was so supportive. Not once did she ever like make me feel bad about like going to hop in. She actually like helped. We went thrifting together a bunch of times. She kind of showed me the ropes with it, because for thrift accounts, I mean, there's different ways you could do it, but there's definitely like a little community there, which is kind of cool. For the setup, I do something where I'll post and I have bidding and binning. And bidding is, it's kind of like eBay. So I'll start the price for like, if I was going to sell this shirt, for example, I would start it at like $5. And then I could say, or you could buy it now, bid for $30. And then that way the customers can decide the price. So they compete against each other essentially, or if they want to get it right away, they can bid it. So I found that method of sales has really worked for what I'm doing. And yeah, it's been fun though.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
That's sweet of her for helping you out. I love that.
Yeah.
And like
So sweet.
I've seen your Instagram account, and it's always so up to date, and you're always like replying back to comments. Like,
Yeah.
props to you for just like make it run so smoothly.
And engaging.
you.
Also, you've been having so many drops lately. I think it's super awesome. And obviously it shows that you're super dedicated to it.
Yeah, I will say it's not as easy as it used to be. Obviously, you guys probably know this too, but like with starting a business, but their trends come and go so fast. And thrift accounts were huge last year, especially with like Visco Girls. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
You know, Anna Oops, all that stuff. And that was when thrift accounts were kind of like, I jumped on board and it just all took off. And this year it's kind of like slowly going down. So I'm having to work a lot harder, which is not a bad thing. I think that, you know, like I'm more motivated now. I think I'm putting a lot more effort into my drops, and you can tell. So,
Yeah.
but so yeah, it's definitely a lot more work, but it's a lot more rewarding, I would say as well. And yeah, and the style is also changing too, which I think is really interesting. So yeah.
Well, it's a good thing that you brought up like trends, because that brings us to our next question. I would say in the last like 2 to 3 years, the whole thrifting and being sustainable has really becoming a trendy thing, where you want to be thrifting, and it doesn't matter if you're wearing a $2 shirt you found from Goodwill, and it doesn't matter if you're wearing it with like a Gucci belt, because that is now. So and it's a great thing. Like, we're being more sustainable, and we're being better about our environment. So what was your initial process getting into it? Because like you said, it is kind of an oversaturated market with all the thrift accounts.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is. So are you talking more about the business side of things or the actual thrifting?
Yeah.
It started raining. So this is a live action shot right now, guys. I am moving underneath a little thing, which is what is happening. But yes, little action for the video. So yeah, I would say that for the business side of things, it definitely was hard at first. When you're small, I mean, honestly, the biggest thing is that when you're starting a small business from scratch, it's scary, not only failing like for yourself, but seeing other people watch you fail, I can think is a really hard thing. Because when I first started, I of course asked my friends, like, please give it a follow, check it out. You know, and I posted on my Instagram story, but there was always that fear in the back of my mind, like, dang, like I'm my friends are gonna like laugh at me, or like some other people might see this and be like, oh, this is just like an Instagram account she's starting. She'll do it for like a week or two and then have to stop because she's not selling anything. It's scary, you know, and I'm sure you guys can relate a little bit about that.
100%.
I think that's funny that you bring it up. I want to say something like, you know, Ryan and I tend to be pretty confident people, and, you know, we try this and we were like, you know, we're going to do what we can. And, you know, at least we're trying something regardless of what happens. But with that confidence, that does not mean that we wonder why 17 people sent our post. That does not mean that we wonder like why people are saving it and like what does it mean, you know? Like, we don't need to be analyzing that, and we shouldn't be. We should worry about, you know, what can we do to appeal to the customers and, you know, create the best brand that we can. But we do still fall susceptible to that exact thing that you're talking about.
And I still, even now, I think one of the hardest parts for business is the need to not compare yourself or feel that judgment, because it's so easy, especially with social media, especially if your business is mainly on social media, like that's how you're marketing and everything. It's so easy to look at other accounts and be like, oh, like they're doing better than me, they're selling more than me, or they're selling their items for more, or like, it's just so, you can fall down a deep rabbit hole. And even now, like, even though I have over 20,000 followers and I have grown so much and I've learned so much, I still find myself to this day, like sometimes I'll be looking at other people's accounts and I have to remind myself, I have to take a step back and be like, no, like, you have done so much, like you started with 0, and now you're here. Because it's so easy to look at what you have not accomplished rather than recognizing what you have.
Yeah.
So I think that is it's important to take a step back when that starts to happen, or else you'll just tear yourself apart, you know. You'll never be happy with what you've accomplished.
I completely get that, because in the social media world that we live in, for better or for worse, followers is kind of how people measure success, and it shouldn't be that way. So the more followers an account has, the more credible it is. And right now we're just struggling. Like, we have really good quality products, we're working, everything's original, and we're doing everything to the best of our ability, but still we're not hitting the quote unquote like successful follower numbers. So people are still having us like struggle to trust us. Yeah. And I totally understand what you're saying. So it's really hard to not compare sometimes.
Yes. And yeah. I totally get what you guys are saying for that, because there is that fine balance where it's like, you want that your followers to be authentic and you want that growth to be there, but when you're starting off, it's like so hard. And I will say this, that something I've learned is that keep doing what you're doing, because I promise you in the long run, you're going to want quality over quantity. Because the way the Instagram algorithm in particular works is that some people, like, I've seen accounts that have gone from 100 followers to 100,000 a day, which is not authentic growth. Yeah. Either they're buying it or whatever, who knows. And while that looks good to other people, because people will be like, oh, this account has a bunch of followers, like, I can trust them. In the long run, they'll be screwed over with Instagram, because the way the algorithm works is that if your customers aren't engaging in your posts and they aren't liking them or they aren't commenting, they will stop showing your products and your items to your customers. It won't show up in people's feeds, because to Instagram, they'll see, oh, their account is dying, people don't want to see this. So while I know it is so tempting for a lot of businesses to do that, I recommend to try and be as authentic as possible with your growth and just push through it, because I promise you that it will pay off in the long run.
You know, I think that's an interesting point you also bring up, because obviously we all know that both you and us completely oversaturated markets, and it's really frustrating as a small business who's trying to grow. And like Rai said, you know, we are new, but we will say that we have put so much effort into everything, trying to be professional, to look good, to be visually appealing, to have the same aesthetic. Everything that you look at on a big account, we've tried so hard to replicate that, because we want to look good from the get-go, you know? And we know that we're putting all this effort into it. Part of why, you know, we were inspired to make Young and Hungry. But it's really difficult when a lot of the algorithms are very pay to play. That's the term that's really used, like in social media. We don't have all of the money in the world as a small business to go spend paying for ads. And I just think that it's a really interesting and fine line between, like, how do we get organic growth without
having to pay a ton of money?
Yeah, it's hard.
I think that for small businesses, I have not done this, but I know I have seen a lot of businesses do this, and I do think it is a new way to grow is TikTok, honestly. I think TikTok has a much better algorithm for small creators than Instagram does, partly because I don't know if there is a pay to play. Like, of course, people I know will be sponsored by products they might showcase, but essentially at the end of the day with TikTok, like, anyone can make a TikTok and it can blow up and get 1 million views. Like, anyone can do that. And I think that I've seen a lot of businesses on there get very big because of that, because small businesses, like, I think that we should give the consumers more credit, because people, I think especially now, it's changing. People don't want to buy from fast fashion anymore. They want to help the planet. They want to help local businesses and small businesses. And I think that with TikTok and all these different new ways to market, it's the perfect chance for people to get their products out there and to be supported by groups of people, you know?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Well, I guess, you know, this might have answered our next question, because we wanted to talk about what was the greatest difficulty. Would you say that you had answered it, that was it?
I don't think that would be the biggest difficulty. I think with the growth aspect, I got lucky because I started my account at a very good time, right before thrift accounts blew up. And I was one of the first people to start doing giveaways on Instagram. Back then, I did a giveaway with 10 people, and I think the first one I did, I ended up getting like 4,000, 5,000 followers with one giveaway.
Whoa.
Which doesn't happen anymore. Which is also why it's harder to grow, you know? So I got very lucky on that aspect of it. And I also was lucky because I had a bunch of amazing friends who helped support me in the beginning as well. So when I was always selling my clothes, even though granted, it wasn't for much, sometimes it was literally like the same price I got it for, but I was still selling. So I was very lucky on that aspect. But I would say the hardest part would be the thing I mentioned before, which is the comparison to others. Because I think that I tend to do that a lot, where I'm like, I'm not getting as engagement, because last year I would get on average 1,500 likes on a post, and now I'll get like 300 or less, you know? Which like, it's hard to see because you're like, oh, like I'm not doing as well. But then you also have to look back at the trends and how like, and I'm doing better in other aspects of the business, and I've learned a lot. And so that would be, I would say, the hardest aspect of it.
Well, kind of similarly to that, what is something that you wish you knew when you started?
Something I wish I knew. There's a plane right there. Fun. I would say something I wish I knew was to not be afraid to ask questions. Okay. I was kind of timid in the beginning, but when I asked questions is when I did the best. Yeah, so obviously, like when I asked Valeria, who I mentioned before, like that was a big step in the right direction. And she, like when I asked her, she was totally welcome to like help me, happy to help. And she basically took me under her wing. Another time that was really helpful to me was, you guys probably relate to this, you know, when you post like a really good Instagram pic and then you get those comments from like boutiques or like, oh my OMG, I love your style, let's collab, like
oh yeah
like it's so funny, and you're like, who are these people? And one time someone posted that on my Instagram, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna actually message this person. I messaged her, I was like, hey, look, I don't want to join your pyramid scheme, whatever you're doing, but I do have a question because you're a business owner, whatever, like with the style that I'm interested in. And I'm like, do you know anything about thrift accounts? And I was like, this is a long shot, like probably not. And the girl was like, oh my God, like I actually am in a group chat with a bunch of other thrift accounts. Do you want me to add you? And I was like, yes, that'd be great. So I got added. And that's how I first got into found this community, because it was so nice, because I, with my 10 followers, I think, and like 3 of them were probably me with my like Finsta accounts, you know?
Yeah.
And and then these accounts were, granted, they weren't humongous, but they had like 1,000 followers. To me, that was like really great, you know? Right. And they were selling stuff, and there was like a good bunch of them, and they all followed me, and they all gave me so much advice, like on how to ship and where I should buy packaging and like how I should set up, and like, and I was able to look at their feeds and see like what posted well. So, and that was that's really what helped me too, because I would never have known to use pirate ship to ship items, which is what I use, or like to go to U-Pack and Ship to buy wholesale the packing supplies. Like I've never heard these things in my life. So for small businesses in general, I would say if you're starting off, don't be afraid to ask questions. And even if it's someone you're like, they'll never respond, shoot your shot, because especially in today's day and age with COVID going on, more people are responding and like online. So you never know.
Yeah.
So.
Also,
I think that's so great. And not just in terms of business, I think in general, people are so afraid to ask for help. And ask for questions, and I think you're honestly like inhibiting yourself from like getting things done, because like most of the time people are willing to help. Like very few times does someone just really not like want to go out of their way and help you, but everyone's like having their own struggles and growth problems, and you can always help each other. So I think that's great why you brought that up, because a lot of us are just scared to ask questions.
Yeah, I agree. And even me, so I do the same thing, but you know, like I said, you just have to remind yourself, like, most people aren't jerks, and most people want to help. And if they don't want to help, did you want their help in the first place? Like, if they're going to be rude about it, you know? So that's my philosophy, at least.
Yeah. No, I think that's great insight.
Oh, sorry.
No,
just like how you were talking about how you've been doing this for a year, a thing that I think a lot of us see in small businesses that you were talking about is the lack of consistency. when they don't see that growth or that success, they drop off the face of the earth and you never hear about that business again. So just going off of that, what do you think the next 5 years for your business is going to look like, or even the near future?
Yeah.
That's a good question. That is a really good question. I've thought about that a lot. And I actually will say there was a time where I took a break from tiny shrub thrifts because I kind of lost that momentum that I had before, because I let the decline or like the less interaction get to me and the comparisons get to me. And I think when you stop like caring about it in that same way, when it becomes a chore is when it's just, I think your audience can see that. I think your audience can see when you're putting that less effort in, you're not feeling it as much. And so I did actually end up taking a break. And I think recently I've just been kind of remotivated with everything. And I am at the moment, I am just trying to get my engagement back up, trying to put out a bunch of style drops that I am really proud of with items. I'm trying to learn to sew, which, Kara said she'd help me with. So I'll be holding her to that. Yay. So yeah, I'm trying to do that and kind of, I think what I want to transition to is starting to make my own stuff. Like upcycling is what it's called.
Yeah.
Where you like thrift clothes and then you kind of do your own stuff to it. I think that would be really cool. I think that also that would be rewarding, because I think when you make your own products, it just feels more special because, you put your own time into it. And if it turns out great, I just think that'd be really rewarding. And who knows, I'm an entrepreneurship minor as well. So I'm also very interested in maybe even creating like my own line of products, something like you guys are doing. Though I have looked into it, it's so much work. It is, I am in awe of you guys. Like, it's so much work. I can't even imagine. So I applaud you. And if anyone's watching this, these two ladies are amazing for what they are doing. They put so much hard work into their business. It's astounding. But yes, in the future, I definitely have considered using the platform to expand into different products. I don't know if I've discovered exactly what that will be. I think I'm taking my time, but I think little goals is where I'm at. You
gotta take big steps.
Yeah.
Take steps, and you set short-term goals for yourself, and all of those then end up to your long-term goal. It just takes time.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, cool. So, I guess, speaking of the future and these weird times and a lot of uncertainty, I know that for us, I can say that, I won't speak for Rye, but I'll say for us that, we did open our business in the wrong time. I'm going to be super honest with everyone. Like, this is not the economic climate to be starting a business. Yet Rye and I were like, we don't care. Both great because we're persistent, also not great because, there's a lot of other more important, more relevant stuff going on. And at the end of the day, like, fashion is going to come second to that. And that's fine. But as it should, but I guess we're curious, how has Corona affected your business?
Yeah. If I'm gonna be honest, it hasn't. I haven't personally seen a necessary like decline in sales. At least that has been obvious. There could have definitely been in certain aspects, but I haven't noticed like some drastic change. Just because I'm lucky enough that I think a lot of the people who I am following, they use their parents' money, or they're well off, which that's their its own problem in itself. But I have been lucky in that aspect. I will say one thing COVID has affected for me in a positive light, I think, is that it really has opened my eyes to using my platform for more than just selling. I have really never been someone very outspoken on social media about politics or anything like that. And I think that with everything happening, like the Black Lives Matter movement and everything, it's really kind of opened my eyes, and a lot of other thrift accounts as well have been posting a lot more things about just what's happening in the world. And I as well. And I've even done some drops that I've donated a lot of the profit to Black Lives Matters organizations.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, and there's even more I know I could do, and I hope to do as well. And I know there's a bunch of other accounts that are also doing amazing with that kind of stuff. And I think that's one thing that COVID-19, even though it's horrible and it's really thrown everyone for a loop, I do think that with COVID and making everyone stay home and like all like the craziness that's happening in the world, I think people are being more, they're talking more, like conversation is more open, more active, and I think that's a good thing. I do think that's a good thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, no, I 100% agree with you. I actually listened to this podcast about a guy who, he had quite a following, and the same thing, he had only talked about, I want to say it was political issues. And he ended up coming out and saying like, conversation is almost dead. Like, we are afraid to have conversations about these things. We are afraid to speak up about them. We're afraid of the judgment we're going to get for just having an opinion. And I think that you're right. Like, the Black Lives Matter movement, and maybe it's just the fact that we're all sitting at home and maybe a little more courageous when we don't see anyone. I don't know what it is, but I completely agree with you. I think that definitely people are talking more. And I think that we need to be talking more. Anyway, I just wanted to add that in because I think that's a great point you bring up.
Yeah, I don't know who I was listening to, but it was some celebrity or influencer, and they were saying that they only think that the Black Lives Matter took up as much momentum as it did because we were at home having the time to talk about it, which is really sad when you think about it, that we didn't have time to talk about something that's so important, that's plaguing our country for so long.
Yes, I agree. I think that it's given America especially a chance to slow down, because I think with America, it's always go, go, go. You need to be better. You have to do more. You have to move on to the next best thing, which is why fashion changes so fast, because that's just how Americans are. Our attention span is like this. That's why TikTok's a thing. Literally, we can't concentrate for more than 15 seconds, at a time. And I think that COVID kind of let people like take a little breather, and you could really look at the world, at the state of things. And then once you do that, then you can start to see what needs to change, So
I agree so much with that. I think that we have too fast of sometimes of a life. We're expected to not live in what's happening today, but be planning what's happening tomorrow, planning what's happening in a month, in 6 months, in a year. I'm not saying that I'm immune from that. I am so guilty of it as well. I think that I will say, I've seen both sides of it with COVID-19. I feel like, I've been working a lot to keep myself busy, and I feel like I've worked my entire summer away. But on the other hand, I think that it's me being home and stuck in the same place has allowed me to, appreciate the things more and like look around me more and just like what's in front of me that I'm appreciative for, and what can I find happiness and positivity in. And I think that I think a lot of people have found that. And so I think that, obviously COVID-19 we never want that. We want it to end. But I do think that the American people, like, and a lot of the world needs to be reminded a little bit that we need to live a little bit more like in the now,
Yes, I 100% agree with that.
And just like how you were saying about using your platform for something more than thrifting, I know for Leudic, within the first like 2-3 weeks, we had the world go crazy on us. And at that point, we just didn't feel like pushing sales for sweatshirts is as important as letting our community know that we stand for them in whatever capacity they need us to. And it's not that we're physically there with them in any help that they need, but just knowing that another brand is supporting them and will work for them, and like we're all just helping each other out is so important. And I'm so glad that due to all of this, a lot of brands have just come out and shown us who they support and why it's so important to have these values and to support movements that are so important.
Yeah, right. I agree. And I think as a business, just being a good person and good people and doing the right thing, I think karma's real, and I think it comes back, and I think that what you give is what you get. And even though, like, obviously that's a loud truck. Even though obviously right now it's a hard time for any business to start, I think that you guys are going in the right direction, and hard work pays off. Like, if you keep going, like, you guys will gain momentum and you guys will find traction, and I will support you the entirety of the way. Always.
Thank you. No, but I think, you couldn't have said that more beautifully and more accurately. For anybody listening or watching, we actually wrote a blog post about it. It came out third week of July. It's on. You can find it through our website if you want to look at it. And we talk about that. It's like there is this difficulty for businesses. And honestly, Lexi, you probably might have felt this as well. It's like our fashion is not important when people are being treated unequally. Our fashion is not important when people are dying and saying goodbye to people in their lives. Like, it's just not important. And does that maybe put us in debt or, allow us to take less profit that we can reinvest into the business? Does that cause a whole lot of other issues? Yeah, it does. Is that the right thing to do though? Yeah, it is. We should not be pushing it, and I think it's just been like a really interesting balance that I think a lot of businesses have struggled with. And what you said, Lexi, I agree that like depending on how, not small businesses, every business has come out and treated it, whether they continue to push it and take advantage of it, or whether it profit off of it, or whether they, stand with the communities that need the support, I think has just really been defining and has really paved a way for whether people are going to support that brand or not in the future.
Yes, 100% agree.
Yeah.
So just to kind of going towards the end of this discussion and having some wrapping up questions, what do you think has been the most rewarding part of this journey? And what is some advice you would give to someone who is young and hungry to start a thrift business like you?
Well, the most rewarding is probably just meeting, like when you are able to talk to people who I would have spoken to before. Because like sometimes I forget, like I do have a big platform, and there's always like sometimes like there'll just be this one person, this like younger girl, and she'll message me and be like, hey, like, do you have any advice? Like, I'm so inspired by your account. And like I forget, like that used to be me, like not that long ago. Like and it's so weird that like now I'm the one like helping people out, and it's just like so rewarding to be able to help. And I don't know, like I just love helping people, and just seeing that, being like the person who's inspired others just means a lot. And I just feel really lucky to be able to have this platform for however much longer I may have it, even if it fades out in a month or two, like I will look back very fondly on like these moments and everything. And as for any advice for anyone who's starting a thrift account, I would say, one, follow other thrift accounts, see what they're doing. Honestly, like imitation is the best form of flattery. If you see something, like, of course, always give credit. Don't steal from small businesses, that's bad. But like if you see like a layout that you're like, that's really cool, or like I love this style, like go thrift and find stuff that like matches it, like be yourself too, like be authentic is another thing. I think that when you're yourself, it will come through in your account, and it'll attract people who are like you as well, and who will want to stay because they can see that you're being authentic. Don't be someone you're not. Like really be yourself, work hard, keep at it. Don't let the low points bring you down. Go to your friends for help and advice and support. Like use the real people in your life, literally I will text my friends like care and stuff. I'm like, go comment on my Instagram so it looks like I have friends,
Yeah.
So like don't be afraid, like use the resources you have. Like it's okay to ask for help. Like we're not alone. I think that's dumb. I am a firm believer of the work smarter, not harder. Like you don't have to, push up a rock by yourself, like up this hill. Like you could put it on wheels and, like use your head and rely on others and everything. And I guess that's the biggest thing. Like I just kind of said a bunch of different things, but I hope that made sense.
That was perfect.
Oh, that was amazing. And that is actually our last question. So with that, thank you for being here. You're our first guest here. We love that how honest you were. We appreciate how honest you were. For anybody watching or listening, we want them to be able to understand what it's like to own a thrift business, as well as anybody who potentially wants to do it and is aspiring to do it. Hopefully they can find some comfort in like hearing your journey, hearing the ups, hearing the downs, and just hearing that honest opinion. So thank you for coming. We appreciate you. Do you want to plug your social medias or say what your handles are so that people can check you out?
Yeah, sure. My thrift business is tiny.shrub.thrifts. And I mean, my main Instagram is Lexi Minetree, Minetree, but you don't have to follow that. It's okay. But
Please
yeah,
go follow her thrift account. She's great, and she has some of the cutest stuff.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you.
Seriously,
And go follow that.
Your last drop was so me. Like every outfit, I
was thinking of you. I was
really?
And the funny thing is, I was like, I need to pop off on this one because my little sister, who's 10, was like taking pictures. Literally, I was wearing a Justice skirt that was hers, like a little kid's Justice skirt, and people were like, "Oh my God, like I want that skirt," and I'm like, little do they know, it's a 9-year-old.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
But it's like, honestly, if it works, like, do it, go for it. So,
yeah, shoe fits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for just inspiring us and just telling us so much about your business and for being honest and open. And for all those who are watching or listening, I hope you guys learned something new. I'm sure, I know for sure, Kara and I definitely picked up some tips through this talk.
Yeah,
so thank you. And Lexi, good luck for all your future endeavors. I know Tiny Shop is going to grow into this huge boutique.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
and you guys too.
Oh,
you guys are amazing.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. But I hope you know that we had a lot of fun, or at least I'll speak for myself. I had so much fun listening to you, Lexi. I mean, Lexi, for any of you guys that don't know, Lexi is one of my dearest friends in the world, but that doesn't mean I know everything about her. And I love being able to hear, behind the scenes of what you're doing. Also, for anybody else out there, this platform just wants to support young and new professionals and businesses. So if you have any suggestions to anyone watching or listening of somebody who is an entrepreneur, a new professional, or trying something new and unique and they're really hustling for it, please let us know. You can do this by leaving some thoughts in the comments. You can DM us on Instagram or Facebook at Leudic Shop, Leudic Shop. Or you can email us at leudicshop@gmail.com. Those are the best ways to get in touch with us. But please, if you have any suggestions, we would absolutely love to advocate, empower, and recognize and talk to somebody who is young and hungry.
And we hope you guys all enjoyed this new installment of our brand. We're trying to do something new, something more than just fashion, something where we reel in the community and introduce you guys to some really cool people who are hustling. And I hope you guys loved it. And thank you guys for tuning in to Young and Hungry. Keep hustling.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.